Wilson Miles from Black Film and TV talking to creator Raamla Mohamed regarding season 2 of Reasonable Doubt. How are you?
I'm great, great. How are you?
Good. So, after the first season, which this was your first big project, how much did you learn creative wise going into season 2?
Well, it's hard being a showrunner. It's not an easy job at all. And what I really learned is that the job isn't just writing, right? It's producing, it's and being in post, it's running a writer's room and also kind of being like an HR manager. There's so many job titles. And I really connected obviously with, the material, and I really was excited about putting the stories together. But I did learn a lot just about like, okay, how do I both tell the story that I want to tell, but also, make sure that I'm being financially responsible with the studio and the network. And I think coming into season two and knowing the case and also knowing the actors already who have been cast, because that happens a lot when you're doing a pilot and writing scripts. You don't know, who the actors are, but being able to hear their voices in my head as we were breaking the episodes and writing the episodes. It just was really special and exciting. And also I don't have to set up a world anymore, right? See, that's what's great about multiple seasons is the audience is already kind of in love. And so they're rooting for the characters in such a great way.
I was gonna say, here you are, but you've risen through the ranks throughout your career. So it's not like you were thrust into the role of creator. You've earned your way up. You've seen the challenges from the different positions to where you're at
Yeah.
now. And you
Yeah.
just said yourself, some of the cast members, so it makes it a little easier to like, okay, you can have a conversation with Carrie. You can have a conversation with some of these actors who you've worked with in the past in your
Right.
different other functions. Having said that, coming into season 2, we have a plot now that somewhat continued from season 1, as opposed
Right.
to a whole new storyline. What was the
Right.
thinking to go into that sort of mode?
Well, I was on Scandal for, pretty much the whole time. I was an assistant the first season and then wrote on the show from seasons 2 till the end, season 7. And it's like I said, multiple seasons are exciting to come into. It's nice to already kind of have a plan, but I also am someone who I live and breathe the show, right? Even between the seasons, before I even knew we had a definite pickup, I was like, ooh, I think I want to use this song, or I want to, or this scene, or I want this storyline. So by the time we started, right before the writer's strike, when the room came back together, I came in and I was like, all right, I kind of have some ideas of some arcs and stuff. And then, of course, what's great about a writer's room is that they come and they bring their own experiences and ideas to it and fill out the show and make it feel like whole.
But ultimately, you hold 60%. Let's get it real. There's a writer's room, but then there's like,
Listen, I started off, to your point, I started off as a writer's PA on Grey's Anatomy, getting lunch and coffee for people back in, 2009. And I really did do every job. And I think I'm so grateful for that journey, because when I'm on set or in the writer's room, like I know what it's like to be a story editor. I know what it's like to be scared to pitch, or I know what it's like to be on set and be intimidated by the executive producer. So I have a lot of empathy and for those people, and I also see a lot of people who are like me, who are very talented, and I can see they're going to have a future as well. So that's exciting.
mhm. So here we are. Obviously, we're all liking Jax and seeing where it goes. And the never-ending question is, will she be happy in her marriage, or is it still in limbo? Like how long are you going to carry that storyline out? Especially when you bring in Morris. And
Right.
initially, until people see further episodes, they just think at some point it's going to be a little romance. That you don't just bring Morris to be so straight-laced.
Well, the thing, first of all, Jax and Lewis have a long road. They're going to be in couples therapy this season. So they have some kinks to work out. But ultimately, I and this idea for me of Jax and Lewis is it's kind of like a love story in reverse. So, I want to feel like, we're rooting for them and we want them to win. And sometimes winning isn't a straight path, I'll say that. And so we'll see what challenges they have this season, and they certainly have a lot of challenges on both sides.
When you have her and then you have the rest of the cast, how do you try to balance out in terms of not just making her the lead, but giving everybody else something to do so they're not just there as plot points?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the shows I've worked on, Scandal and Little Fires Everywhere, both had big cast and multiple storylines. So I just kind of, I could say I grew up and trained and having, multiple storylines going at one time and carrying them out in many episodes. To me, it's exciting because it keeps the episode flowing and it keeps people invested in different ways. And particularly with like, the Crystal and Daniel characters, I have some, heavy episodes, and then you go to them and you're like, oh, okay, it's funny, a little light, a little lightness, and it's nice to care about them and be invested in her friends and her mom and different people as well.
It's funny how you mentioned those two characters because I have to imagine there's a writing team that just are there to provide humor. It can't be so 100% serious.
Well, you're gonna see, definitely some layers from them, as well. But I feel like in some ways, they have this rapport naturally. I see them still as full characters, and I think what's going to be really interesting is Morris's character coming into that space, and how's Jax going to react, and how is the team going to react, and I think there's some fun and also some interesting moments that happen there.
I always tell people, in the black world, obviously, we get upset when it's a season just ends at season one. So it
Hmm.
takes season two for people to feel confident to get invested into these characters. Because you like to even people are watching it weekly or they like to binge, but they don't want to get into it to afterwards so they know there's a season two. Because now we can start saying we can remember the character Jax and everybody else. Otherwise,
Right.
we can name countless shows that have only gone one season and then they're forgotten.
I
You know,
know. I
at
know.
what point did you get comfortable knowing, like, okay, how long ago? How long was it in between when it aired and you got renewed? It says, okay, now I can play. Now I can expand on these characters and go where I want to go.
Honestly, I don't think I'll ever be comfortable. I feel like until, every season, I think any showrunner or writer feels that way, right? Until, you're like, oh, okay, maybe. I mean, Scandal was not a big hit when it came out. And we saw the cuts, and I loved the show immediately when I was just watching it, and I was really hopeful that it would get renewed, but it really wasn't until halfway through season 2 that it kind of, leaped off, and I think the hiatus we had after season 3, I was like, "Oh," I was like, "I think okay, this is actually a hiatus, not like a, is it gonna get picked up
But
situation."
yeah, think about it. You
Yeah.
just said it yourself. Sometimes it takes more than a season, not just Scandal, but you think about a show like Cheers, and other shows. Look at Suits. Nobody really
Yeah.
paid attention till it got on Netflix, and now everybody's like, "Oh, really? I didn't know."
Yeah, and now
And
they're doing a spinoff.
yeah, and sometimes it's all about the marketing. And but now we're living in a world where there's a glut of programs out there. Between what's on
Yeah.
movies and there's a crazy amount of streamers. It's like, okay, it's not like with the old days where we only had 3 channels and we were forced to watch the Brady Bunch and All in the Family.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right, right,
And Cheers. To the
right,
point where
right,
like
right.
we've got a lot of black shows, which is great. Everybody's eating, everybody's working, but now people know about it. So
Yeah. Yeah, but you know what the thing is, honestly, is word of mouth is everything. I mean, that's how I find out about shows with, my friends talking about it. So I think, what I want people to do is, not just watch it, but talk about it. Encourage people to watch it if they love it, because honestly, that's what's going to keep the show on the air is the buzz, it being in the zeitgeist, and people watching and tuning in and subscribing to Hulu in order to watch the show.
for yourself, what part of your skill set got improved as you did this? This is your first year as a creative showrunner, executive producer. You had one of those roles on the Little Fires Everywhere, but now here it's like, hey, you're wearing a lot of hats coming into season two. Is there anything you said to yourself, I'm going to do better at this? Or maybe things you didn't know that you learned throughout the run of the first season?
Yeah, honestly, I've produced so many episodes of television. By the time I actually got in the chair, I had these I was like unsure, I don't know how it's gonna go. And I realized that, since I'd been a television writer for over 10 years before I became a showrunner, a lot of things just really came naturally to me, like as far as my instincts, and that's what I really trust. you know, I'm a fan of television, right? I'm the person screaming at the TV, like, why'd you do that? What are you doing? You know, what are you doing? And so I take those instincts and I put them not just in the show, but even in the script, the action lines and people talk. I have, you know, I'll be like, what? Like, what'd you say? You know, that like I have the audience reaction in the scripts, you know, because I want people to understand this is going to be an experience. And so for me, all I kind of learned between the seasons really is just to have more confidence in my instincts and ask questions when I don't know the answer. That's what I do. If I see an email and someone says some term I don't know, I just say, can you just explain this to me? And I'm not ashamed. I want to. I feel like if you're not asking questions, if you're not constantly learning, you can't get better.
I just spoke to another producer, and the thing I asked is, what's important when you have a limited series? Not just this is limited; it's 8 to 20. How many episodes is it this season?
10 episodes.
10 episodes.
Hmm.
The first episode, which is going to get people coming in, back in case they're new. The
Right.
penultimate episode, or the season finale. Because that's what's going to, go into laying into season 3. But it's the first episode. Now that we're at season 2, and for those who didn't know so much, because when you think about it, the writer's strike, people forget it's like a blip.
Right.
For as long as they gotten. And so now it's like, okay, people are coming back to seeing season 1. So now that season 2 episode, it has to hit the ground running. Is
Yeah.
that you've done this before, plenty of shows. Is that an important thing, the pilot to season 2?
Yeah, honestly, I mean, I think that I don't believe in a scene being wasted. You know, I cut out scenes if I watch and I'm like, it's slowing down the pace or it no longer works. I'm always like rewatching the cuts to kind of get the best version, the best song. If I'm like, oh, I don't like this song, you know, thinking about songs. Yeah, I honestly, the biggest challenge for me is that I want each episode to be better than the previous episode, you know. So do I want episode 1 to be great? Yeah, of course. But episode 2 better be better. Episode 3 better be better. You know, so you know, that is a challenge because I do want people to come week to week because sometimes what does happen is sometimes when I watch TV or talking to my friends and they're like, oh, I really like this show, but it takes 3 or 4 episodes to get into it. And I'm like, well, I don't want to wait 3 or 4 episodes to get into it. I want to be into it now. So for me, that's how I want people to be in immediately. You know, I want people to watch and go, oh my God, it's only halfway through. So much has happened. So that's kind of how I think, how I move.
Before I let you go, what's a good reason to watch season 2, Reasonable Doubt?
Season 2 of Reasonable Doubt is actually better than season 1. And I know so many people who loved season 1, but season 2 is sexier, soapier. We have really important storyline talking about domestic violence. And we really get to really expand on these characters that you know and love. So I'm very proud of this season. I'm excited for people to see it.
Appreciate you talking to me. Obviously, it's off and running. Let's see where it goes. Hopefully we can talk season 3. We
Yes,
are
speak it,
good.
speak it.
Yes. All right. We're off the record. Here's the one thing I wanted to say,
Oh,
and this is
yeah.
not going to be on print, but it's funny because I wrote a story a couple of years ago that I can actually rerun that story about how Morris and Michael Ealy are always following each other,
Oh,
or always going after the same girl.
yes,
When I wrote that article, I wrote they were both on Being Mary Jane,
right.
you know, after Gabrielle Union. They both did the movie with Sanaa Lathan,
Right, that's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
now Morris is following Michael.
I know, I know. It's so funny because Michael, because when I said talked to Michael Ealy and I said, oh, we're gonna get Morris, he's like, oh my God, it's so funny. He's like, it's me or him. It's always like
I had to do
we're
some
never on
digging.
the
Do they
same
have the same
season.
agent? Is it like
Yeah.
do they?
No, I don't know if they have the same agent.
It's
Yeah.
like they're following each other. It's like the same girl. You could
But you
make
know
a
what?
list as to it.
But you know what's interesting is that what's great is that in the same way that last season people got to see Michael Ealy in a different light that they hadn't really seen, like the same, but like
Not if
really
you saw the following.
what do you say?
Not if you saw the following.
Oh, no, no, I mean not the crazy part. I just more being like he's such a great actor, like he
Mhm.
really brings it. And more similarly, I think there's different, versions of him in the show that I don't think you've seen in other things. And what's great is he said that this was the best uh experience in his professional career that he did.
As
So
somebody who watches enough TV, I said Morris is the male Heather Locklear. If you know what
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
that's
like
right.
you know how they used to bring Heather in to punch
Oh, Heather was
Michelle.
the yeah. What did they bring her into Ally McBeal at some point?
Alley, Spin City,
Spin City, that's right.
TJ Hooker, all of those shows like, oh, bring on Heather. It's like, okay, we need somebody to punch it up. You see
Yeah.
what Morris is just doing, like Diara from Detroit. Boom. He's in this one. I'm like, the guy ain't even a regular. He on the poster.
I
He
know,
not in the
yeah.
poster.
And
How
he's
you
and
feel
he's
about that?
and
McKinley?
he's already filming his next show.
Yeah.
Awesome, yeah.
I forget.
He's so lovely, and he was so great to work with. So it was you never know when you have someone of that caliber, like how it's gonna go. But he was
Well,
great.
yeah, we expect big things. It's like the guy did have a couple of shows on his own.
Right.
They not just gonna give it like anybody could have done that role. So
Yeah, yeah, but
we're
you don't know
waiting
if
for
they're
the
gonna
punchline.
show up and be a diva or like different whatever. But he was honestly so professional and so nice.
You know how we talk. Before you bring them on, the word is already out.
I know. Some people you hear mixed things and you're wondering which way is it gonna go. So,
But anyway, I know you just got off, so I'm gonna let you be. We're gonna get
oh,
this
no
up.
problem.
Let's keep it going. Season 3, let's make it happen.
Yes, thank you so much, Wilson. Thank you for being a fan of the show and being so supportive.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
We're looking forward. I've followed most of the. I've known Emayatzy since she got the Rising Star Award at ABFF.
Oh, wow, nice. Oh,
That was
she's
and Lee Daniels gave it to her. Then she did Middle of Nowhere.
wow. She has just owned this role in such an amazing way. So,
Everybody's hey, you never know when everybody's time is gonna come. Sometimes
absolutely.
this is not, or like they say, it's not a sprint. You gotta take your time. It's gonna happen at some point. You just let it, carry it out if you're willing to stay in the
Right.
game and willing to be patient.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, it's true. It's true.
So, all right, I'll
Well,
talk to you
thank
later.
you. Okay,
Bye.
talk to you later. Bye.